as the goddess of justice. I, Portia, gaze out upon the land and witness to the heart flames of every son and daughter of God. The blessing that can come into your life when you align your conscious being and world with the light of your own God presence. In my office of the Karmic Board, I am most aware of the many pitfalls that you must navigate through life. Some are so vast that rather than go around, you must go through. And this takes mastery. It takes the ability for your own Christ mind to navigate you in ways that are lawful, that uphold the truth of your God identity, that allow you to have the thrust of the power of your own God presence, to keep you steadfast on your course. All the while, you are making divine, discerning moves, actions, thoughts, words, conveyed by illumination's flame that does burn upon the altar of your heart. That brings me to the point of today's address. Is indeed that illumination flame burning brightly? Or have you abdicated your office as a son or daughter of God and given the authority of your life stream over to the princes of the marketplace, to those powers throughout the land that are setting in motion those things that would ripple down into your life and have grave consequence? Many of you would like to ignore the greater picture of your country, your earth. But you cannot. You must apply wisdom's flame in your discerning faculties so that you are making the right choices first and foremost in your own life, because that is where the mastery is gained. But as you do so, you begin to recognize that you are affecting life about you. It is not merely that you are on some deserted island and a law unto yourself. This was the plan all along, so that you would understand the allness of God that ripples through every activity, every being, every form of life, and is intended to uphold the truth of that identity. So you cannot, for one moment, consider that those things that you discern are not affecting the rest of life. Life as you might have known it as a child does not exist. You are held in the purity and the protection of your parents, your caregivers, while you begin to grow and learn how to communicate. But your communications sometimes are wanting. And this is because the resonance of the truth of your own heart flame has not been allowed its day. Instead, there is the silting over of the human consciousness, all of its manipulations, all of its human desires. And thus, you have lost sight on many occasions when it was most important for your life stream to be in alignment with the Christ consciousness. You have performed according to the actions of the carnal mind. Though we may understand when we receive your petitions, when we, as the Karmic Board, must weigh in on the affairs of the sons and daughters of God and determine new dispensations to come forth, we must look at the record. We must see how true to your God identity have you been? And what was it that carried you adrift away from the center of the alignment of the consciousness of your own Christ identity? And then we must weigh, is the dispensation one that can be carried out when there is not a stronger constitution, one where the life stream has forged the courage and the strength of their God identity sufficiently to carry out what they have asked, what they desire, what they would will into manifestation. It is much easier for us to weigh in than you might imagine. For in the ascendant octaves, there is only the perfection of the light of God in all of the vast God qualities and variations to those qualities. And when we see on the instant a record that holds impurity, we are able to balance that impurity against the causal body momentum and the lifetime that is being lived at present, and know with almost certainty the outcome that would present itself should the dispensation come. So when you petition the Karmic Board, when you ask of your own God presence, make yourself worthy. Let it be a just request, one that you can stand before the Lords of Karma, before your own mighty I Am presence, and be assured that you have done all within your capability to then go before a higher court to ask for assistance. You have been told countless times throughout your many incarnations that the presence of God is there to assist you. But the presence of God is not there to do it completely for you without the assistance of the vehicles that you wear. Yes, God must work through these outer vehicles, but when they are rebellious and refuse the hand of God, can you not see why there is such a sense of struggle, a sense of injustice to some, a sense of loneliness or separateness? Whatever human condition you may assign to that state of ill-being, it is because you have struggled against the very truth of your identity. I am most aware that it is difficult to stop a roaring flood tide and allow for the destruction of that human condition within your own vehicles to be stopped and to suddenly surrender to the mighty I Am presence. But that is just exactly what is required. You have been given the grace of the violet flame. You have been taught its efficacy, its ability to transmute those areas of your life that are the motor, the momentum of that human creation that would assault you at a moment's notice if the flame upon the altar of your heart was not sending out and thrusting out the light of God. There are those that think that they must be fanatical in their spiritual life. I pose to you, weigh upon the scales of justice your life, that justice between you and your mighty I Am presence, taking stock of what is the truth of cosmic law that is evident in your life, and what is out of alignment of that truth, and all of the God qualities and the virtues of the Christ that you have come to recognize as the truth of cosmic law. And then you will have a greater awareness of what it is that you must apply, the calls that you give in your devotions, the actions that you engage in, the areas of life that you allow to be absorbed into your consciousness. That is how, blessed hearts, you change the destructivity of the human emotions, the human tide that would destroy all that was good in your life, if given the opportunity? And what of the human consciousness that would feed into your mind those impure thoughts that become a reality in your life? For you cannot discount the alchemies that you have been taught of visualization and of the power that is within the mind to control your actions and your emotions. So then, blessed hearts, you begin first and foremost in prayer, decrees, the affirmations that are life affirming, that your presence desires to feed into the very body consciousness of its own pure perfection, displacing all that is unlike itself and leaving you prepared to chart your course, to transmute the human conditions, to prepare yourself for wise discerning. You cannot for one moment disappear from the engagement of life, save your own God presence determines to call you home, to rest for a time and begin again with a new incarnation. That is always and should always be the call of your own God presence, not to be confused with an outer mind that has become ill. The filling of the vehicles of consciousness as the mind, the emotions, the physical body can oftentimes become diseased with life, and they cannot be trusted. You must allow for your course to be charted by the perfection of the mind of God. And you know that perfection when you spend enough time in the devotions to that I am presence. When you come before this altar, receiving the cup of light, the flame of wisdom, the anointing of the light of God that would sweep out and bless all mankind. Is that too much for any son or daughter of God to avail themselves when the outcome is so great? Oh, surely there are those among mankind that would like to ignore the justice that is what is demanded between each incarnation. But no one can escape paying that price of balancing their debts to life. You have learned how to call upon the law of forgiveness. You have learned how your own God presence, not to speak of the entirety of God, in all of the love that God is, that forgives you, blesses you, would heal you. But you must make yourself right with your own God presence. You must know the truth of who you are. You need not wait for the Karmic Board to address your circumstances. You already know. You have, if you have listened to many of the teachings from this altar, all that you require to address not only the circumstances in your own life, but those that affect the greater whole of life around you. This is why I began with you must have the discerning faculty of wisdom, which comes with illumination's flame burning brightly to guide, guard, and direct all of your affairs, and most especially those that allow you to be a part of the solution to the ills and the dis-ease of mankind. There are many that call upon the lords of karma to assist the warring nations, the starving peoples, the diseases that are running rampant, and call you should. But do not discount that not only with your own calls, but the example that you set in your own vehicles of consciousness are allowing the reverberation throughout the mental, the emotional, and the physical planes to heal, to set in motion the violet flame that you call into your own vehicles of consciousness. That does not merely stop with your own mind, with your own emotional body, or your own physical body. It is filling your chalice to overflowing, and that overflow goes into the mass consciousness, the mass emotional body, the mass physical body, and all of the subplanes associated, and allows for the rippling out of the blessings that you have called forth, not only for yourself, but to be expanded wherever the hand of God may be at work. So thus you must begin with your own vehicles of consciousness. And they are vehicles of consciousness, for each of your vehicles have the ability to exercise will. And it is that will that must be the will of your own God presence. It must be in alignment with it. It must be telegraphing the purity, the perfection of your own God presence. And you must learn how to ignore those naysayers that think there is no room in life for perfection, merely because it has not presented itself in their life to their awareness, is no fact. You know cosmic law. Your heart flame has spoken in ratification to that truth. And it is that truth that you must use as the touchstone of your own awareness of God justice in your life. Consider for a moment those who are always treated unjustly in their own mind, always ready to lash out at another or circumstances that they say are beyond their control. Is that true? It is not. For you are always able to take command of your own life. You may not see the end from the beginning, but you can hold inviolate in your own conscious awareness that truth that you desire to have manifest. And you can begin to apply all of the areas that you know of as the Christ virtues, the God qualities, the disciplines that you would engage in to begin to make that vision and that desire of your own heart flame a reality. But I ask you again, if you are weighing with your own heart flame and as true to your awareness as you are capable, all of those Christ virtues and God qualities that you are upholding in your life, and all of those areas that must go into the flame to be changed and be no more. Those areas of unreality that you have fostered far too long, which would win out, which would tip the scale, and ultimately be the rock of your firm foundation. Can you have a firm foundation when there is unreality? By its mere quality and lack thereof, it is unreal and does not exist save in the mind or in the conjuring of the emotional body or in the outpicturing of the physical body, because it is finally manifest. But that does not make it real. All of the ingredients of that unreality can be on the instant consumed by the light of God if you are willing to let it go. If you have the clarity and the alignment with your own God presence to call the flame of God and the perfection of God into your life, and to have that constancy of the flow moving day after day after day, chipping away at all of the old momentums that have led you astray, filling your cup to overflowing so that you are blessing all of mankind. Is that not preferable? Is that not what every religious pursuit has been? Has that not been the morality that many have desired to achieve, though much of that morality is so shifted and changed at the present hour upon the earth that it remains to be seen how many truly understand what are the Christ virtues that you have received from this altar. Do not misread my words. There are those that know. There are those living a godly life that do not know of the ascended and cosmic beings and how they are so actively engaged in assisting the sons and daughters of God. But they have a momentum of purity, and they have gravitated to their own God presence without knowing of the name, but recognizing the flame. So do not think for one moment there are not those waiting to move into the active service, consciously aware of my beloved Saint Germain, of the Chohams, of each of the rays of God quality, and of the great pranic breaths. Those who desire to be one with God, though they know not what to expect in that oneness. Nonetheless, they have had enough of the presence of God upon the threefold flame of their heart to hold fast to their purity, not allowing an encroachment into the activities of their life to dissuade them from that purity and that connection with God. These are life streams, blessed hearts, that have not had the truth of cosmic law detailed in all of the varied nuances that many of you have received for years from this altar. And yet, they stand as the glorious readiness awaiting their own Christ consciousness. We expect much from those who have received much, for there are no excuses left save those areas of your life that you choose to abide. Therefore, let the scales of justice prevail in your life. Let the mark of the consciousness of the mind of God be that touchstone upon the altar of your heart as the white cube that allows you to know that truth of who you are. And then begin the cycle of changing your ways, your habits, your thoughts, and yes, your desires, and readying yourself for the life your own God presence has dreamed for you. Some will think my address harsh, but the only harshness that they might perceive is their own instinctive survival of the human creation in their life. Those areas that they have elected to hold on to, and thus the rebellion begins to weave its downward spiral, separating out consciously those life streams from their chosen path. And when I say their chosen path, it's the path of the mighty I Am Presence. O blessed hearts, how my beloved and I stand united for your victory. How we desire the golden age to be fulfilled upon the earth. And we petition more than you could begin to be aware the cosmic councils for their intercession and how they may, within the fabric of life, justly assist mankind. You see, blessed hearts, there are laws that do not allow us to usurp your victory. We may assist, we may help, we may hold you up for a time, we may petition the Lords of Karma to read the record and extend our hand. But in the final day of reckoning, you are the one that is responsible for your life. You are the one that has either availed yourself of the blessings that have come forth, or you have not. It really comes down to that simple statement. My beloved, throughout history has always said to be or not to be. That is the question. You may elect in this moment to go the way of your own God presence, to allow for your God presence to be the hands and feet, the beating heart, the thinking mind, the works of your hands, fashioning and forming your life in the likeness of the Christ. Or you may abide longer than is necessary, going through the rounds of incarnation. Every day counts. You cannot think for one moment, well, I will wait another year. I will wait another 5 years. Or perhaps when I retire from my profession, I will have more expendable time, and therefore I will wait till then, and I will work hard at that point, and then I will gain my ascension. That is not the path of Christhood that leads to the ascension. You cannot ignore what is right before you this very day. You know not what tomorrow will bring. In many cases, blessed ones, if you knew from day to day the balance scales and how they will tip and totter back and forth because of the consciousness of the sons and daughters of God upon the earth, you would be praying on your knees. You would be calling forth with your decrees and affirmations, morning and night, for intercession. This is not a time for those that know better to ignore what they have been taught. And you, blessed hearts, know beyond a shadow of doubt that your mighty I Am presence can and will make a difference. But you must orchestrate your life to allow your presence to do so. There are many times in the history of the earth that there has been a deciding cycle set in motion. And those cycles can either go in an accelerated upward spiral, blessing, healing, or they can go in a downward spiral, sowing the seeds of disintegration. You must recognize, if you are at all conscious, that this is one of those times for the earth. We have spoken of this nigh a number of years, so that you would be prepared, so that you would make the difference. Why do you suppose it is that the veil has been lifted on these teachings to go far and wide across the earth? And from the beginning of the inception of mass communication, we insisted that the voice from this altar would go far and wide and be available to all that would listen. It is so that your heart flames can be knitted together across the earth, so that the allness of God in your own I Am presence can and will be the strengthening of your bodies of light. And you can make the difference, along with those that do not even know of your existence. Do you suppose for one moment that matters to the cosmic beings or the ascended masters, that the majority of mankind does not know who they are? Do you think that somehow we are offended because of all of the work that we do, that we do not get the credit? That is only an attitude that occurs in the human creation that does not abide in the presence and the perfection of the mind of God. We desire you to be God victorious. We wish to give you all of the tools of cosmic law to perform your alchemies, your divine outpicturing of the atmosphere about you. You can make a difference. It is time. Do not think that you can ignore world situations. You cannot ignore the situations in your countries. You must Be a pillar of light wherever you are. And as that pillar of light, you will influence, even if a word is never spoken, even if you do not engage in any form of physical activity. You will make the difference. But you must know, you must be aware, you must not pass through this cycle, leaving it to others to correct what is wrong upon the earth. Your mighty I Am presence desires to be engaged. The holy angels, as you have been reminded by Archangel Michael most recently, await your calls. And I, the goddess of justice, await the recognition of the truth in your own life of what you are capable of achieving. Go throughout not only this coming week, but all the weeks before you, as long as you are in physical incarnation, upholding the truth of the identity of your mighty I Am presence that burns upon the altar of your heart. Let that be the sealing action that protects you, that teaches you how to engage through your vehicles of consciousness and the light of God and the work of the ages that will change the course of history for the earth and allow the golden age to be the fruit of all that you engage. I am the goddess of justice. I take my leave, but not so far that I cannot be aware of your answer to my address. Godspeed you to the victory of the golden age and the fulfillment of the will of God.